There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective. I do believe that autism does come from vaccines. They're going to have the right to compel unwanted medical interventions on us. The Nazis did that in the camps. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. They're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior.
So that is some of several things Trump HHS Secretary Pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said, which are sounding alarm bells in the medical community and elsewhere. Joining us to examine the impacts of Kennedy's beliefs is Washington Post health and science accountability reporter Lauren Weber. Lauren, welcome to you. In your latest article, you lay out 10 of Kennedy's opinions which have medical experts worried. So which one is most concerning or could be most damaging that typically goes under the radar?
I think ones that have gone under the radar, the one that he's most well known for is his claim that vaccines are linked to autism, which has been thoroughly debunked, and medical experts are very clear to point out is not true. He founded an anti-vaccine group that has really pushed that. But things that have gone under the radar, RFK has also suggested at times that HIV does not cause AIDS. He has called the COVID vaccine the deadliest vaccine ever made, which is also false. There's just many different instances in which he's flown in the face of medical consensus.
So do you think there's a certain first item on his agenda if he is confirmed by the Senate next year?
So what he has said publicly is that he feels very strongly about food. He's really veered into the food category. He wants to get rid of ultra-processed food. He's also said he wants to fire a lot of federal employees. He wants to clean house. He's told some federal employees to pack their bags. He feels like there's too much industry influence in Washington. And he even has argued that some federal employees have an interest in, quote, mass poisoning the American public because of that industry influence. So top of mind for him seems to be the food issue, but also he clearly is interested in vaccine safety and a variety of other health problems.
On the food issue, if he is in charge, he could help write the 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans. That's the foundation of federal nutrition policy. How much of the current guidelines could change under his leadership?
A fair amount. And I think what's really interesting to note about Kennedy's stances on food is they're quite popular. They have some advocates on the left are excited, albeit nervously, to hear him say some of these things. Look, about 75% of Americans are overweight and 40% of them are obese. The U.S. has a health problem that is contributing to chronic disease, as Kennedy has laid out. And food is one place that nutrition advocates really would like to see some change. But their concern is that by firing swaths of the FDA or, speaking in non-scientific terms, they're worried that he may not accomplish that. Also, frankly, to be quite honest, it's interesting to hear this amount of regulation around food coming from someone that could be in a Republican administration. Many industry experts that I spoke to said they were a bit shocked. This is not something they would expect to see.
Let me take it a step further, because ultra-processed food, he wants to remove that from school lunches. And as you said, that is a great goal. That'll get a lot of support. But given the next Trump administration's intent to eliminate the Department of Education and then tighten budgets of many school districts, is this initiative even possible, since processed foods are typically cheaper?
That's a great question. That's some of the contradictions that we see between RFK and Trump himself. Look, RFK has called some of the food that is on Trump's campaign plane poison. Trump is known for bringing McDonald's to the White House and having it on his campaign plane. Bobby Kennedy wants to see that gone. And it's very curious to see how those differences in ideology could play out in this administration.
Was there any conflict at all between these two on their personal health choices before Trump selected him? Are there any now? McDonald's notwithstanding.
I think that remains to be seen. Trump did make a bit of a joke recently about Bobby, you can't get too much more popular. So, we'll see what happens between the two of them. But at the end of the day, Kennedy has tapped into something with his Make America Healthy Again slogan, especially around food. So, he does have some popularity on that front, but medical experts are very concerned that his anti-vaccine background and look at science is concerning for someone in charge that could be in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah, 100%. Lauren Weber, thank you so much. Appreciate that.